Hi everyone. To give you an idea about what's going on here, I have way too many books and way too many cosmetic products. And so what I decided to do for 2023 was I am going to be on a low buy, no buy until I have gone through a good chunk of my stash of both of those things. So with these videos, what I'm going to do is go through the books I read each month and also which cosmetic products I used up. And so hopefully that will help to motivate me to go through more of my stuff and kind of declutter my house a bit. Okay, so to get things started, the first book that I finished in January of this year was Runaway by Alice Munro, which is a collection of 8 short stories. And the way that I came across this particular book is that last fall I watched the movie Fire Island on Hulu, which if you haven't watched, I highly recommend. I really enjoyed it. And it stars Bowen Yang from SNL and also Joel Kim Booster, who's a comedian, and he also wrote the screenplay for the movie. And the movie is called Fire Island because it's a gay retelling of Pride and Prejudice, which takes place on Fire Island. And in the movie, two of the characters are discussing this novel. And so as I'm watching it, I was like, hey, I like this movie. The screenwriter decided this novel was interesting enough to, put in the film, so I should probably check it out. So I checked it out from my local library, and it took me forever to get through. One, because short stories aren't really a form of literature I read a lot of. I'm more of just a straight up novel or, biography type of girl. I think the last time really besides this book, the last short story collection I read would have been in college, really. So like almost 20 years ago. But the other reason is because Alice Munro, I will say this, she's an excellent, excellent writer. Like these stories were amazingly written, like they're really well written. But because of that, each one does feel like a tiny novel in itself. And so, and they're pretty heavy. They're pretty heavy stories. So once I get done with one of the short stories, I would then have to take like a small little break, just to amp myself up to read another short story in here. And so I'd have to wait like a few days or a week. And so I had to check the book out, recheck the book out a couple times. And then I ended up just like turning it in at one point and then rechecking it out and finally finishing it in January. But yeah, so like I said, what I did like about this was that the writing style is excellent. I will say that each of these short stories could have easily been its own novel. They were just that good. The characters are really well developed and defined, and there's just so much depth going on in these. And so that's really great. And what I didn't care for so much is that each of these stories, while it was a different scenario each time and a different set of characters, except for a real side note here, there are 3 stories that are kind of a novella by themselves because they each deal with the same character just at different points in her life. The first one, she is single and just like out of college. The second one, she is a young mother, and then in the third one, she's an empty nester. So that those 3 stories all have the same main character. The other 5 stories all feature different people entirely. Let me just get that out of the way. But the overall theme for this set of stories is that it's women that are running away in some form, running away from something or someone, or running to a situation, or that someone else is running away from them. It might be that they're physically running away, emotionally running away, and they're just running away of some form, right? And so that's fine. I get that. But my problem with it is that all of these women make just the worst choices, just like bad life choice after bad life choice after bad life choice for all of them. And the men that these women find themselves in relationships with are also a bad choice. Like, I think there was like one guy in here that was like a decent dude. All the rest are like ne'er-do-wells or criminals or abusive or they cheat. They're insensitive. They're just not great. And so I don't know if this is a theme in all of Monroe's work that I don't know, love is terrible and relationships are horrible and they're all just misery, or if that was just for this particular work. So I would be interested in reading something by her again just to see if that's just how she feels in general and if all her work reflects that, or if she has some stories that are actually like hopeful, because I will say these were all depressing. Like every single story is just depressing and sad. And again, why I had to take a break in between the stories. There's nothing, there's nothing funny in here. There's nothing uplifting in here. And me personally, like I like some sweet mixed in with my sour. I don't like reading all just depressing stories one right after another. I like a little up and down. If you are someone who like that is your jam, you're like, yes, sign me up for that. I just want to feel sad, you know. And hey, sometimes I like stories like that too. But if that's your jam, then this would probably be for you. Me personally, this is not my cup of tea, though it is a very well brewed cup of tea. I will say that. Okay, so the next book I read in January was The Christmas Quilt. It's in the Patchwork Mysteries series. I think there's like 17 or something. Yeah, number 17. And I believe there are like 25 or 27 of these total. And they're one of those mystery series where it's written by different authors. There's like maybe 4 or 5 authors that write this. And this particular one was written by Kelly and Riley. And what this book, the way I got it was actually an accident. In Christmas 2021, I ordered a picture book of the 12 Days of Christmas. It was a copy, it was a version I'd had as a child, and I wanted to order a copy for my own kids. And so I ordered it from Amazon. And what came instead was this book. So obviously, someone in the warehouse made a mistake. But since I like cozy mysteries, I was like, okay, I'll just keep this and read this another day. And so then I reordered the 12 Days of Christmas picture book, and luckily the second time, you know, like the correct book showed up. But anyway, so this year I decided for Christmas 2022, I was like, all right, this is going to be my holiday read this year, right? And then what happened was what happens to me every year, and maybe this happens to other people too, but every year I'm like, okay, I'm going to read, you know, this book for my holiday read for December. And then instead of being able to read my holiday read, what happens is I get very busy with, you know, decorating the house and planning Christmas activities and doing stuff with my kids and buying presents. And then I don't really get to read my holiday read until January. And that's what happened here. So I'd started this, like, I think, like, really like the last week of December, probably, and then finished it up in January. But the plot of this book is that the main character is a woman named Sarah who's in her 60s, and she restores quilts for a living. That is her business. And she lives in a little New England town, like, you know, like 50% of people do in Cozy Mysteries. And her son and daughter-in-law and her twin granddaughters, who are I think like 13, also live in the town. And her daughter-in-law's parents are coming to visit for Christmas, so that, you know, adds some family drama in. And the mystery involves there is someone going around who is stealing items from the various stores in this town, you know, during the holiday rush and all that. And Sarah gets involved when her teenage granddaughters and some of their friends are accused of shoplifting. So, and then we go from there. And what I liked about this book, well, first thing I liked about this book is, I don't know if you can see this well, but if you look at that cover, like, that's adorable. Like, it's made to look like a quilt, right? And then there's like a little person in here who's like, you know, stealing stuff. And that's just really cute. And I looked it up, and apparently all the rest of the books in this series, it's Patchwork Mystery Series, same thing on the covers. All the covers are made to look like quilt patterns, and so that's nice. I appreciate a good cover. I appreciate when there's like, you know, effort and thought put in, and when the cover does match what is going on in the book. That's always nice. Anyway, so it was nice to read a mystery that involved, you know, theft and not murder, because where, you know, I like a good murder mystery as much as the next person, but it does bother me that 99% of mystery books are murder. It's always murder. It gets, you know, I get a little tired of it after a while. I do like mysteries that involve other things, you know. And so this was nice because there was no murder involved. It was just that somebody's stealing things, and you're trying to figure out who's stealing and why they'd be stealing these particular items, and, you know, stuff like that. It also makes it to where it is very cozy and low stakes, because it's not like there's, you know, someone accidentally killing people at Christmas or purposely doing it, you know. So there was that. And the other thing that I found interesting about this book is that it's published by this Guideposts Publishing, which I'd never heard of before, but apparently they are a Christian publishing group. And I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm religious myself, right? I'm Christian myself, but I usually do not enjoy Christian fiction books because I find they're usually very heavy-handed, the few I have tried to read. I think, what's the author? I think Ted Decker might be the only one who I actually enjoyed. Most of them I find it's just like way too over the top, and the characters are way too devout. Like every single chapter they're praying, or they're at church, or they're like, you know, just everything in their life is religious based, and it never, and I know that there are some people who are like that, but for me it doesn't usually feel like a real person, because most people I know in my personal life, including myself, who are religious, it's like that's just one aspect of their personality. It's an important aspect, but it's just one aspect. And it's like, you go to church on Sundays, maybe Wednesdays, you might be involved with something with the church, like doing charity work, but you do have other interests. And I mean, like, you're not praying like 24/7, like all the time. It's not like, that's what's going on. And also sometimes some of these books, the way the prayers are answered, I've noticed it's not realistic. It's not how it works out. Like, just because you're praying for something, it's not going to happen. There's not like miracles every 10 seconds or whatever. So this book, what I liked about it is, if it wasn't for the fact that Christian characters, and just like, I guess, religious characters in general, who are just like regular everyday people who just happen to be religious, that I find that doesn't happen a lot in modern day fiction. It's like religion's just not really brought up, and I feel like if it is brought up, it's either for some symbolic purpose, or the character then turns out to be a hypocrite, or kind of nefarious and is using the religious thing as like, a shield to that. Or it's some kind of over the top evangelical stereotype, which, I mean, there are people out there like that, but there are a lot of people who are not. And what I liked about this book, what I appreciated was Sarah is a normal person, right? Like, she's going about her life, she's going about her day. She is religious. She does pray on occasion through the book, but it is in situations that make sense, like she's offering up a prayer like before she goes to bed to guide her family, and that will be because of something that happened earlier in the book. It's like there's family drama or something. She's praying about that. Or she's praying because, like she offers up a quick prayer when she is trying to get somewhere in time before something bad happens. And that's like a very normal thing. Like, Lord, let me get there before this awful thing happens, something like that. And then they do mention a couple times in the book that, like, before she goes to bed, she reads her Bible or does a devotional or something. And it's a very quick, like 1-2 sentences. It's not like we're going through the whole devotional with her and stuff. It's not like there's a ton of scripture quotes or something coming at you. So it's, it's in a way that, if we were talking about her having some other interest or hobby or part of herself that would be in the book. And so I like that, like I said, I wouldn't even have realized it was published by a Christian publishing company, except that there's a kind of an absence of religious characters in modern fiction where they're presented as just normal people, right? There's usually something else going on there if they are. So that was a nice thing. And overall, the mystery itself was actually quite nice. It was like quick paced. You went through it, had a satisfying conclusion, which is kind of my biggest thing when it comes to a mystery. Like, I cannot stand when the conclusion makes absolutely no sense. In this one, everything lined up. And so that was nice. And yeah, I would like to check out the rest of the series. My local library does not carry these, so I'm going to have to probably buy them somewhere when I'm not on a no-buy, low-buy year. And I have checked eBay, and eBay does have them. So I think, like, one year what I'm probably going to do is just, splurge and buy the whole set. I think, like, I've seen them on there for, like, I don't know, 50, $60 or something, which isn't bad. So, but yeah, the Christmas Quilt, it was, nice little holiday read. Okay, so those were both of the books that I read in January. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again for my next video. Bye!